Okay, so we have done this much. All right. So there are few things that still need slight adjustments. Like everything here is fine, but in the beginning, like mainly in the rotation, you see, we have changed the translation speed, but we haven't changed the rotation speed, right? Because obviously the ball is coming to a stop, and if the speed of the ball is in fact slowing down, we have definitely adjusted the translation for that, but rotation is also a big factor, right? So that is also something that we need to adjust. So rotation is happening in Z axis. Translation, you can see we have already adjusted it, made the curve steep and flat towards the end. So that's exactly what we need to do here. Okay. So we want the rotation speed to be faster in the beginning and then towards the end it should slow down. So I'll break the tangents and I'll make the curve steep. So now rotation is fast and then it comes to a halt. Okay. Now here I don't have to flatten it. One second. Okay. Yeah. So as I was saying that here, we don't have to flatten the curve much. It's already, you can see naturally the shape is slightly flat. Now, if you wanted to, stop at this point itself, then you can start slowing it down even further. But in our case, what we're doing, we're adding a little bit of dampening. So therefore, we are not going to flatten this part too much. Okay, because you can see rotation and translation keeps on happening quite a bit. So we don't have to aggressively flatten this part. But what was required was the speed of rotation to be faster in the beginning. I also feel like we can, increase the rotation. I feel like the speed is actually quite a lot in the beginning. So I want to increase the amount of rotation. Now that I've already animated till here, I obviously don't want to delete all the rotations and, edit everything. Instead, what I can do is I can go to the first frame and decrease the rotation like this. That way, you can see we get more rotation. Let me explain this again. See what is happening. The rotation is going forward because the ball is moving forward. Now I have decided that I want to increase the amount of rotation which is happening. We know that when we move it forward, the forward rotation applies. Now here I have decided that I want like full on rotation to be even more when it moves forward. So in that case, I will move the ball rotation backward. So that way you can see we get more rotation like this. Okay. Is it clear? And we obviously don't have to change anything about the curve because it is still the same. Very slightly, it gets affected at times. And here you can see it's almost straight. Now, if you want it to be faster, you can definitely make it steep again. Because when you add any change, it gets reset to the default. It tries to get back to the default key system. So we get to see some changes. So in that case, we can just go ahead and make it steep again. So is everyone able to understand what I did with the rotation here? Like I moved it backwards, which will in case increase the amount of rotation. Is this clear? Is everyone able to understand this? Okay. All right. Fine. So now you can see we are having more amount of rotation compared to what we had before. Okay. Because I felt like it was a little too less compared to the speed I have given it. It became even more evident when I increased the rotation speed towards the beginning. Therefore, I just increase the amount of rotation which the ball covers throughout the distance. Okay. So now it is looking much more natural for me. All right. So now what we'll do before we move on to the next scene, uh, like if you guys remember the storyboard that we did, initially like the camera will be positioned to the ball, and in the next frame, like we will be focusing on uh, the basketball hoop. And then after that, we'll come back to the ball and then we'll head out towards the side view. Okay, these are the different angles which will be there. So let's start with this. So we need to create a camera. and then we need to animate it. So camera animation seems very difficult to people who are new to animation, but if you understand the process of doing it, it becomes very easy. Okay. So to do camera animation, you should always do it in two different views. Like you should have two viewports open. So I'll click on that. Okay. For now, both will be in the perspective view. So what I'll do here is I need to decide a distance. Okay. I think this is how it should be. Now I'll turn on save frames, also known as resolution gate. Okay. Over here, if you go in the upper panel, you can find it here. The third option after the grid, you can see this is the third one. Click on that and you will get to see these translucent borders. So basically, the translucent border is the part which is not a part of your scene. Okay, this part which is properly visible to you is actually the part of your camera. And when you render it with lighting and all, this is exactly what you see. Okay, so that's why whenever we're creating a camera, it's important that we turn on the resolution gate so we can see actually what will be inside our camera view. Okay. Now that I'm in a view, I need to make a camera because by default, I'm using the perspective camera. That is not the camera we want to use to animate because that is the default camera. You don't want to animate that. You want to create a different camera altogether. So once you have the particular view that you like, you can go in this option here, view, and click on create camera from view. You click on that and you can see perspective one is written here. You can see. If you come here in the outliner, you can see a camera has been created for you. So see, this is now our camera view and this is our perspective mode. You can see I am rotating around it. It's not changing this view. Why? Because this is now set as the camera view. So in order to avoid any confusions, whenever you create a camera, just name it. So I'll name it as main and I'll hit enter. So now you can see the different camera names. This tells us that this is our main camera view. Okay. Now this one over here, the left one is our perspective view. I will turn off the resolution gate here because we don't need to see these white borders. I will remove the outliner, basically just turn it off. And now you can see we have the camera visible here and we have our camera view visible here. So if you change the camera, you can see I'm moving the camera, it is affecting the scene, right? See, I'm rotating the camera. It is showing us the actual camera view, how it is getting affected. So whenever we animate the camera, it really helps to have two different views open. One should be for the camera view and the other should be the perspective view where you can actually control the camera. Okay. So what I want here is I want to change the angle. Right now it's kind of straight. I want to tilt the camera. So I'm going to rotate it like this. I'll zoom in a little bit, keep the camera a bit higher and rotate it down. So you can see it feels like the camera is now at a higher point and it actually is higher. You can see over here in this view. Okay. So this is my camera angle that I'm going with for now. Now you can choose whatever camera angle you want. You can also, keep the camera like this so that, the ball looks large. When you keep the camera angle at the top, you see the character smaller. When you keep the camera angle at the bottom, the character tends to appear larger. Okay. So these different camera angles set different moods. All right. So like whenever this actually especially happens in animes when you will see a character who is, you know, having an extremely traumatic event, you will see the camera usually goes really high and then it kind of gets stretched out also, kind of like a bird's view. Yes, the eagle view also. So that it's also known as the eagle view or the bird's eye view. So that's because the director is trying to show that the character is really suffering. Okay, so he feels smaller. So that's why the camera is kept really high. So, and they change the view as well. They just turn it into a bird's eye view so that it looks stretched out. So it's distorted also. So it gives the effect of the uneasiness and traumatic event which the character is facing. This also happens with movies as well, like real life movies. I mean, where basically humans are in. So, but we don't do it as much Not many directors go to those extreme camera angles, but in anime you will see this kind of a thing. Okay, and it helps because like in 3D also you can add those effects. Now here I don't necessarily want to show the character as small because see here what my intent is that this character is definitely small, but he's small and mighty because he can still on its own he can pass through the hoop. Okay. So I think I should keep the camera lower as that will actually show the intention. So you can see now the character appears larger, how it changes the perspective, right? It's really cool actually. So yeah, just keeping it like this. Okay, so the character appears large and I will also zoom in a little bit. That's it. So this is going to be the camera view when the ball stops. Okay, so at frame number 20, I stopped the ball and then I just did backward and forward movements and all of that. So yeah, basically this is where I will be putting the key. Okay, so I've logged it here. Okay, that is done. And now, like if I don't animate the camera and I just keep it like this, still it's fine, but we will be animating it very simply. We will just make the camera follow the character a little bit. So not completely. I will not make it exactly follow the character completely, but basically in the first frame or in the zero frame, I will be moving the camera straight and close to our character so that it goes like this. Now you can see some weird thing happening here. See, we have just put two keys. One key is here at the final position. One key is here in the initial position. But if I hit play, you can see a little effect here if you look at the grid. You can see why is that happening? That's happening because by default the movement that has been added is the easy ease or the slow in and slow out. So basically what is happening? The camera is slow in the beginning, then it is constant, and towards the end it is like again it is slow again. So that is not matching well with what we have done with the character. What we've done with the character, we have slowed it down towards the end. We have added deceleration, right? So I don't want slow in and slow out to happen with the camera. Usually what we do is like you will always see constant speed in camera, otherwise it will follow the movement of the character itself. So what I'll do right now is I will actually match it up with the character's movement. So what is that? The character is faster in speed in the beginning and then he slows down, right? So that's exactly what we'll do. Just making the curve steeper in the beginning so that it matches with the motion of our character. Okay. So I will select both of these. I will break the tangents and I will make this steep. So now you can see it is following the ball's motion and in the end it is slowing down. If you want, you can slow down the camera a little bit earlier. So I'm going to flatten it just a little bit. Initially it was like this. As you can see, I'm just flattening it just a little bit to show that the camera kind of stops a bit earlier. And if I hit play, you can see look at the camera's effect. If you look at the grid, you can actually see it. Yes, we can parent the camera also, but you need to understand that everyone, like most of the people here, are completely new to 3D. So we don't want to confuse them by parenting things because I'll have to explain hierarchy and all of those things. If you know parenting, you can use that, okay? But majority of people don't know. So we're not going to do that. So as you can see, it is following the ball's movement. It is faster in the beginning and then it slows down. If you look at the grid, you can actually see the effect. Okay. And you can see our scene is actually quite empty. We can add some stuff in the background. So camera movements will become even more visible. Okay. Let me show you. And one more thing, uh, you can see while I was talking about that, I accidentally moved the camera here. So a key got created. I can definitely undo that. But when you have done an animation and you want to preserve it by the time you're doing all the other stuff in your scene, then what you should do is you should lock the camera. Okay, so we have something that we can use. So this is our camera view, right? We can go over here in these little options. You can see the camera with a little lock. Click on that and you can see the camera is locked. If I try to move it, nothing happens. Whereas if I unlock it, I can like move it. But if I lock it, I'm not able to move it. Okay, so translations and rotations gets locked. Look at the channel box. If I unlock it, you can see translations and rotations are pink, like wherever we don't have a key and where we have a key, it's red. But if I lock them, you can see the keys turn gray in color. That means we can no longer manipulate it. So this is a helpful thing, okay? Because here I want to add some things in the background. So by the time I'm doing that, I don't want the camera to accidentally change. Okay. Uh, all right. So I'm going to expand this first of all. And if you have, random building models and stuff like that, you can definitely add those things here. I'm not going to use anything fancy. I'll just make a few boxes and I'll add them so that our scene looks like, it's filled with stuff. I'm giving it an angle. You can see if I keep it flat, it looks like it is a plane. But whereas if I rotate it, you can see the 3D effect. Okay, because it's actually visible. And I'm going to position it here and I'm going to add another one. I'm duplicating it. We duplicate by pressing Control plus D in the keyboard. You can also create a new one, but if you want to duplicate, you can just press, like select the object and press Control plus D. And now I have duplicated it and I'm going to change the angle, change the height, make it thinner. Just like that, I can just add a bit of randomness to the scene. I can also take a sphere and create a dome-like structure in the background. Just adding random buildings. That's it. That will just give more depth to my scene. If it's empty, it's not, giving that much of depth. But if we add different buildings and all of that, it looks much more interesting. And the camera movements that you're adding also become much more apparent. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to put these in the same layer here and just reference it. So I can no longer select it. And you can see the scene looks much more better this way. All right. So now let's unlock the camera here. If you don't unlock it, you cannot animate it, right? Because you can see translation is disabled. It's grayed out. So when you want to continue animation on it, make sure to unlock it. Okay, so as you can see, the camera just stops here, but our character continues to move. You will see in movies and animes and 3D movies, series or whatever, if the camera is not translating forward and backward, then definitely it just goes up and down. Okay, that is something which happens a lot, and it happens more vigorously in scenes where we're showing, tense effects. Like if the character is tensed, two people are having really intense conversation, then the camera, you will see it will move a lot. I don't know if you people have watched such movies where, this type of thing is used. But I've personally watched a lot of movies like that. Wherever there is a tense scene, you will see this type of movement. This type of movement. Okay. It will just go up and down, not with this much speed, but you can see it will just go up and down like this. Okay. Yes, Sudhakar. Just adding some random objects make things more likable because depth comes into it. Previously, it was like completely empty, but just adding some random scenes made it good. And if you have really cool building models and stuff like that available with you, you can add those as well. Okay. Yeah. So basically, this is how the camera moves up and down. We can actually add that kind of movement and It might seem difficult, but once you're able to do it successfully, it will be very, very easy. So let's see. This was our last key at 20th frame, right? And our ball continues to move till frame number 32. So we have around 12 frames where we can add just a little bit of up and down movement. Okay, basically the camera follows a triangular pattern. It goes up, it goes down, and so on. So that's what I'll do. I'll go forward a few frames around 24 or 25. And what I'll do here is instead of moving the camera in our perspective mode, what I will actually do is I will be moving it here. How am I moving it here? See, when I'm doing this, the camera is actually getting affected. It's the same thing whether I move it here or whether I move it here. Okay. Camera is the one which is getting changed. But what like the main point of me doing it here is because I want to move it very subtly. Whenever I'm using translations like the manipulator itself, I do it for bigger movements. When I want to control it, I either do it through the graph editor or I just do it like this in terms of camera. Now, how am I moving it like this? It's very simple. You have to press Alt plus middle mouse button. So basically, you can pan your camera. Okay. Panning basically means there's no translation in forward axis. It's just going up and down and sideways. Okay. So yeah, this is the kind of movement I want to add. So let's do that. So I'll go forward uh, around 25 and what I'll do, I'll press Alt, middle mouse button, and I will slightly move the camera down. So now what happens? You can see the camera moves down. It could be a big movement. I don't know yet because when I'll hit play, then I'll understand. But that's not a problem because I'm still getting a key. And if it's a big movement that I've added accidentally, I can just control it through the graph editor. Okay, so there are a bunch of ways of controlling these things. But you can see the camera is going down like this. Now at 32, which is our last frame, I will move the camera up. And I'm not just translating it up and down. When I move the camera up, I also move it towards the right. So if I'm moving it down, I either move it left or right as well. And same thing happens when I move the camera up. Basically, the movements happen in the Z axis and in the Y axis, not in the X axis. Okay. So let's see. So now you can see this is excessive, right? This is way too much, but the movement that I've gotten is exactly what I want. It's just very, very intense. This is not the intensity I want because you can see initially it looks so cool, but then it looks jerky. It looks jerky because a big amount of change is happening in a very short time frame. That's why animation seems jerky. We can easily adjust this by going to the graph editor, going to translate Z. See, first thing that is bothering me is translate Z. I want to reduce that and then I will edit the translate Y. So look at this. We've got this curve here, right? If I want to reduce the translate Z, I will move it up. So now the translate Z movement has reduced. Now I want to change the translate Y. So again, I will move it up. Now you can see the movement is very, very less. Let me show you if I just go through like this. See how less it is? And if I undo all of this, go back to the default, see how big the movement is. Look at this. From 20 to 24, it is translating so much. But when I decrease the movement, it becomes less intense. See, now the movement is very subtle. You can see it is still moving up and down, left and right, but very, very less compared to before. So this is something that you have to understand and practice. Once you do, like once you practice it, you will really get how this works. And then whatever animations you're doing, let's say you're not even doing animation, you have just created a model and you just want to render it in a video. So instead of doing a 360-degree animation, you can just, keep your camera there. Atul, please don't do that. Let me disable this. One second. I appreciate the little hearts, but we can't have that right now. Okay, yeah. So as I was talking about, even if you're not doing any animation, let's say you have just created a 3D model, nicely textured it, added really good lighting, you can just, like you can add this type of camera animation which will show like you're actually recording it by hand. This up and down movement that basically happens when you're hand recording a scene, right? So, like when you're recording something, definitely your hand moves up and down. It also translates forward and backward at times, but mostly it moves up and down, isn't it? We're not able to keep our hands stable. So, this is basically the handheld camera effect that I'm creating. So, we are basically faking it because obviously we're not using a camera to actually animate that, right? No, Atul, it was visible for everyone. Okay. All right. So, I'm happy with the movement that I've gotten from 20 to 24 as of now. Now I want to reduce the amount of movement that we have from 25 to 31. You can see how high this curve is going. Let's bring it down. We'll do the same thing and translate Z, bring it all the way down. Now, if I hit play, you can see, look at this. Look at the grid. See, that is so cool. The handheld camera effect. Is everyone able to see the shake in the grid? Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. So please definitely try this. It can be a little bit difficult when you're trying to do it the first time, but slowly, slowly, it will become very, very like understandable, and you can then use it in everything because it looks so good. Okay. Yes, Sudhakar, my intent was to do it slow only, not too much. Okay, because already the camera is slowing down here. So I just wanted to add very subtle handheld camera movement. Okay, that's it. Yes, Siddharth, this is kind of like adding noise to the camera. We can, I'm sure there must be some way of doing it through, scripts and all of that, but this is the manual way of doing it. Okay. We don't have any, I haven't seen any direct option for those things. So definitely can be done with scripting and all of that. Okay. Yes. Yes. In Spider-Man movies, you will see those effects. Little camera shake. Exactly. Just like you can literally take your camera and try to record something, you will see how like your hand will always move a little bit. It will not be 100% stable. This is why like when in movies they want stable shots, they use that particular uh, I don't know what the setup name is. Basically, they have a gimbal. Exactly, a gimbal. They use a gimbal setup to exactly keep the, uh, the same movement of the camera so that it wouldn't shake. It will just go in and out. Okay, zoom in and out. So, yeah, it can be stable that way, but many times directors choose to have the handheld effect. Okay. Yes, Saidul, wiggle effect usually we add when the character is jumping, right? Like if the character is jumping from a height, the camera shake happens. So usually the wiggle effects are added only then. So basically, the camera goes like this, up and down. It looks like that the camera was thrown. So it just does a bounce like this. So usually we add it when we are adding, yeah, for giant footsteps also. Like obviously, see, if something is heavy, it is basically showing that the camera is shaking. When someone is jumping off from somewhere and landing, they have a lot of, they are basically coming down at a really high speed. So, uh, a lot of wind is also coming with them. So you can like imagine that the camera will get a shake and it will fall down. So things like this you will see in lots of movies and stuff. Okay. Exactly, Ritik. Imperfection is the real perfection. Okay. Krishna, exactly what Isaac said. It makes the animation look more organic. See, this is the difference. Like if you see Indian 3D animations, like all those cartoons like Motu Patlu, see how bad. I mean, it's not bad. I shouldn't say bad, but it's not good either. The kind of animation which is there, right? Like it's very floaty and there is no depth in the movements. So that's why, like, whenever you see any animations from Disney, Pixar, DreamWorks, you will see they will always, they will add lots of layerings, basically. So many different movements and different accesses will give, like, basically, it adds depth into it and make it more organic. Okay. So, Dakar, I don't want to add more to Badlu, but basically, I wanted to show a mode of comparison. That's why. Okay. Yes, Krishna. See, this is the thing, like many people don't understand this, therefore they don't add the effort, and therefore the animations that they make don't look interesting at all because there's no depth in it. It's just going in simple movements. So obviously it looks bad compared to what we see from people outside. Okay. So yeah. All right. So yeah, so that now that we're done with our last frame for this angle, I want to key everything. Like right now, if I directly go to the next angle, it will like continue the animation from that. We definitely want to key this full thing. Okay. Okay. So now, now that we're animating, now that we're going to animate the second angle, I need to tell you some important things. Whenever you're working in a studio, every different camera angle in every different shot will be like the camera itself will be different. Okay, they won't use one camera for the full particular scene. Okay, like right now one particular movement has ended, right? So this camera will be discarded and a new camera will be created for a different angle. Now, in this case, now that like we are doing our personal work, we can afford to use the same camera because, see, when you're learning, it is easy to use the same camera because when you create a play blast, you can see it in one full movement. Okay, like if I continue the animation in this camera itself, if I create a play blast, I will see a continuation that will allow and help me to understand the connection, like whatever I'm doing, whether all the scenes are looking interconnected, whether the transition is happening nicely or not. So when you're in a learning space, it's better to use one single camera. Okay. So we will be using one camera only. Now, the reason why it's not used in studios is, first of all, uh, if you add too many stuff, too many different angles and animate just one camera, it has chance of messing up many things. Okay, so many things can go wrong. And one of the major thing that can go wrong is motion blur. Let me explain. Whenever we're rendering something, okay, we go to the camera settings and we turn on motion blur. Okay. So what motion blur does is anywhere there is fast movement, it will add a little blur. It will not make each and every frame appear separately. It will add a blur to it. That's what our human eyes are used to, right? Whenever something is high in speed, we always see it as a blur. We don't see the different movements that are actually taking place, right? So when we don't see motion blur in 3D, anything like what that you're doing in 3D, if it doesn't have motion blur into it in high speeds, it will always look weird. So motion blur is something which is always added. Now the problem that comes with the camera is, like, let's see. Uh, I have put a key here. I've locked everything. Now just after this, if I take this camera only, rotate it for my different angle, okay, I'm not doing it perfectly. I just want to show something. Okay, so basically, let's admit that this is our next angle. So what is happening between this and this? You can see instantly my frame is changing because 31 was my last frame, and at 32 I changed the camera angle, right? If you give space in between these two, what will happen? You will see this type of effect, right? You will see the transition happening in between. That's something that we don't want. So whenever we're using one single camera, we always key it like this. One key, like the last key is there in your last camera angle, and as soon as you want to go to the next angle, you do it right after that frame. Now what is happening here? We're getting a big jump. Look at this. The camera was down on the ground and rotated towards the ball. But in the next frame, the camera is up in the air and it is rotated towards the basketball hoop. So what is this? Basically, a very, very big change is happening, right? So if you were rendering it with motion blur, you will see that your frames will be actually blurred out. Okay. So it will look very, very bad. I will show an example. Like one of my student, he accidentally forgot this and he rendered it like that only. I will share that video. You will see that blur effect, uh, causing the problems. So therefore, when you're using a single camera, you need to make sure that if you're about to render it, you need to adjust motion blur accordingly. We don't have to worry about those things right now. When we'll come to the rendering part, I will show you what you can do. Okay. Right now, we want to use the same camera so that when we create a play blast, we see it all together in a string. Okay. So this was our last camera angle. I want to switch it at 32. So basically, I want to face the basketball hoop. So I will rotate this. Rotating it first and rotate Y. So you can see I'm doing full 90-degree rotation. So I can just go ahead and rotate Y in our channel box and type 90 degrees, but you need to make sure to add negative. You can see when I'm rotating it, I'm getting a value in the negative, right? If I instead go ahead and add 90 degrees, you will see the angle will change. It's going upside down. So what I'll do instead is I will add minus 90. So that way the camera is straight because it is difficult to control it by hand, right? I can try and get it at the spot that I want it to be, but it can be difficult. So instead I'll just add the value so the camera is straight. Okay. Another thing is it is not straight in this axis. It is slightly tilted. You can see the value here minus 98 in the Z axis. So I'll just go here and type minus 90. So again, the camera is now completely straight. Okay. Now the only rotation which is different is in this axis. All right. So I will move it up because I want to change the camera angle. Actually, I'll keep it down like this and rotate it up because I want to show it from the perspective of our ball. So our ball is very short in height, right? So anyone who is really short in height, if they're looking at something which has a big height, they will obviously look at it like this, right? They will raise their head up. So that's the kind of movement I'm trying to add here. So I'm rotating it up while keeping the body downwards. Okay. So the camera angle looks like this. Whereas if I keep it like this, you will see I'm looking at it from the same height. So that reduces the connection between the frames. So instead, what I do is I show this perspective from our ball's view. Okay, from a basketball's view. Is this clear? What I did here and what I explained, like why it is important to change the camera right after one frame? Yes, it should look like a cut. And that's exactly why I did it this way. Okay. All right. Great. So as I said, when we were talking about the storyboard, I was saying that I will be adding a tilt like this. So let's do that. So I will keep it like this at this frame. Okay. And I will press S. Then I'll go forward around 10 frames and I'll shift the camera towards the left direction. So now what is happening? The camera is moving towards the left. Okay. Now you can increase this. So it's kind of going like this. So you can see the ball stops here and the camera goes like this. Now See, here what is happening, our object is stationary. It is not moving. We are just showing a simple movement from right to left, right? Now here I want to control the transition. I want to keep the speed constant. Right now what I have is slow in and slow out. If we go to translate Z, you can see we have the slow in and slow out. It is slower in the beginning, okay? Then it gains speed and then it is slow again. I don't want this. See, whenever the camera is just translating in the same axis spatially like this, it is always constant, okay? I want to keep it constant. So I don't have to edit the tangents or anything. I will just select these two keys and I will use the linear tangent. Now, if I hit play, you can see the speed is now constant. It is just moving like this. Okay. So we have this type of movement. Now what I'll do in my last frame at 47, I will press S to lock everything. Everything is keyed. Now again, I want to change the camera and it should be back towards our character. So I want to rotate it in rotate Y. So basically 90-degree rotation I want. And you can see it is very, very close to the character. I'll zoom out and I will keep it like this. See the transition. When the character entered the scene, it felt like he is, very powerful, strong, and everything, right? So, because the camera angle was down. Now, after stopping, he looks at the opponent like this, right? He looks at the opponent, and the opponent is so, like, obviously mightier compared to the ball because of its height, right? So, therefore, the next camera angle is where I basically make the rotation downwards. Previously, we kept it upwards and translated the camera downwards to show that our character is really powerful in everything. But now the character is feeling slightly, you can say, less determined. We want to show a little bit of a break in his character. So that's what we will be doing. Yes, don't worry, it will become clear, Sudhakar. Just give me a minute. Here I am actually keeping it fast paced and I will be adding holds after this. Okay. So, yeah, exactly like challenged. He feels challenged. So, therefore, I'm keeping the rotation downwards. Okay. Now, here what happened? The camera was moving in this direction, right? Towards the right direction, it's moving actually. Now, next time I want to show the opposite direction. So, I move it like this. And let me just compare. See, here it's moving towards the right, and here it's moving towards the left. Okay. Towards the left, I'm moving. Here it moves towards the right. Here it moves towards the left. Now what I'll do? Again, the same thing I need to change, which is basically making the movement constant. So I'll make it linear. And now if we hit play, you can see it's like this. See, it looks challenged. So Sudhakar, you see why I didn't add any hold? Because I wanted to show this challenging part. So it needs to be in one full movement. That's why. No holds there. Okay. All right. So let's see from the beginning. So very fast paced it is in the beginning. All right. And yeah, I'm putting a key here in the last frame. Now, definitely our enemy is stationary, but the character is obviously not stationary. We want the character to move. You can see the last key that I added was at frame number 32, and there's no key after that. Now, this can be problematic if I want to continue animating it. Why? Because I haven't added any stopping keys. Now, we need a stopping key because in between, we are actually looking at the basketball hoop, right? So, till 47, the ball should remain in this particular angle. Why is this important? Because if I go ahead and animate it, right, you will see the animation will continue right after 32. See? It's continuing right after 32. So that is something that we don't want at all. So what we'll do is we will check the last camera angle, which is 47. Okay. So this is our camera angle, sorry, frame where the camera was last in this particular angle. Now I will select all the controllers of the ball and I will press S and lock it. So now you can see it is locked. It's no longer moving. So if I go ahead and add any animation, you can see till 47, there's no movement in the ball, and after that it starts to move. Okay, that's why stopping keys are extremely important. So everyone understands what the stopping key is about, why it is important. Is this clear? Yes, so that you can also do the over shoulder shot. Sure. I'm just keeping it simple so that most of the people can do it. But if you have different ideas like this, you can definitely apply it. Okay, not a problem. All right. So now, uh, basically, what I want to do here with the camera is we have around 10 or 12 frames of change. Okay, for the ball, I want to increase this. Right now, it is ending at 64. I want to give a few more frames. So what I'll do is I will take this last keyframe, press shift, click on it, and I'll move it forward. So now you can see the ball has more time here with the camera. Okay. There's a reason behind this because I want to animate the ball. So initially, I want the ball to look down on the ground itself. Okay. So what I'll do is I will add another keyframe around 51 to lock it again. Once again, I'm locking it. Okay. Then I'll move forward and I'll rotate the ball upwards in rotate Z. I'm doing it very simply. We can actually add more movements to this, more anticipation to this. Let's say if you want to add anticipation, let's actually see how we can do that. See, whenever we decide to do something, we gear up for it, right? Especially when you're working with animations, you will be exaggerating it most of the time. So anticipation is also a form of exaggeration. So I want the ball to look up so that we can see that it is, so short and it is trying to look at the goal. Okay. So what I'll do here is instead of directly rotating it towards the camera, what I'll do here is I will first rotate it downwards for anticipation. Okay. So it is gearing up here. It goes downwards a little. And then after a few frames, after 4 frames, it goes up. So you can see what happens. It goes down and then goes up. See, let me actually do this again. See, we have gotten to our camera view at frame number 48. Okay. I don't want to instantly start animating right from here. I want to give some hold because if we continue animating it along with the camera, it becomes a little bit unreadable. Okay. And people cannot understand what is happening in the scene. So therefore, we want to give it a little bit more of a hold. So what I did was I went around 51st frame. I selected all the keys and I selected all the controllers and basically I keyed everything. So basically I'm going to select everything and press S again to show you. So now you can see everything is locked. If I select this controller, there's no change happening between 47 and 50, but I just wanted to add another hold position, hold frame, or a stopping key. Okay. Therefore, there is no movement in between these frames. Okay. Now what I'll do, I want to add a bit of anticipation. You see, I can definitely go ahead forward like this and I can move the character up. What it does is it looks kind of boring. See, the character is just straight away looking upwards, right? Just one dimensional movement is happening. We want to add more depth to the scene. So what do we do instead is we rotate the ball downwards to show anticipation. Very little rotation you can see I've done. Let me undo this and do it again. I just went forward 3 or 4 frames. I rotated it downwards just a little bit. Then I went forward 4 or 5 frames, and I rotated the ball up. So if we play this now, you can see it goes down slightly, then it goes up. Now the speed is a little too much. The speed looks very fast, and the reason behind this is at 54, you can see the ball is actually rotated downwards like this, right? So now you can see it is covering a big amount of change from 54 to 58, and it is happening in only 4 frames. This is exactly how much of movement I want, but the timing is not very accurate because if I hit play, it seems very abrupt and kind of unreadable because it is so fast. So what I'll do instead is I will increase the timing. So this movement which is happening at 58, what I'll do is I will select that particular keyframe and I'll move it to 60. Basically, I'm giving 2 extra frames in between. That will basically increase the timing, right? Because I'm giving 2 extra frames. So now if I hit play, you can see this is much more readable. Okay, it's going down, then it's going up. Now again, same thing follows. The ball goes up, it shouldn't just stop. Same thing that we did here. You can see we didn't make it come to a complete halt. We added dampening here. So same thing I will do with our ball here as well. So when it is rotating up, it is up, right? Now I don't want to stop it suddenly. So I'll go forward 3 or 4 frames. I'll make it come down, and then I'll go forward 3 or 4 frames and I'll make it go up. So I added only 2 frames of dampening. Here we added multiple frames because the ball was, in a big movement, right? It was already translating, rotating, and everything. In this case, the ball is stationary. It is only rotating up and down. So therefore, I'm just adding very little amount of dampening. So what is happening here? The ball is rotating upwards from 54 to 60, then it rotates downwards to 64, and then it rotates up again at 67. Okay, if I hit play, look at this. Can you see the movement? Look at the jiggle. If you want, you can definitely go ahead and add 1 extra key to smoothly end it. So it's going up, it's going down, it's going up again, and then I'll go at 69 or I'll go to 70 actually, and I will very slightly move it down. See, let me undo this and show it again. Very subtle movement I'm going to add. So if you go back and forth in your keyframe, if you jump the keyframes like this, the way I'm doing by pressing the middle mouse button and comma button, you will see. So I'm pressing sorry, I said middle mouse button. What I meant was uh, the full stop key. Okay, the comma key and the full stop key. So I'm using the full stop key to move forward. You can see it's going up. At 64, it's going down. At 67, it's going up. And at 70, it's going down again, but very little. So if I hit play, we see the jiggle. Okay. Now it looks a little bit weird because camera just stops here. Not to worry. Right after this motion ends, the camera angle will change again. So previously I ended the camera movement at 67, but my animation of the ball is ending at 70. So I'll just add a few more extra frames for my camera. Instead of it ending at 67, I'll make it end at 70. So now you can see till my camera is moving, the ball also keeps on moving. Okay. Now this was my last frame. Now I want to change the camera angle again. So I'll go to frame number 71 and I'll move the camera out and rotate it like this. So basically, I want to stabilize it. So in rotate Y, I'm going to zero out the rotate Y and zero out, sorry, X and Y I'm going to zero out, and we can also like zero out Z as well. So you can see it's completely balanced. There's no rotation now. I'm going to get the camera right in the middle and zoom out. So now we have both the opponents in the scene. So you can see we have so many different camera views. First one was focused on the character. Then we had a challenging shot where we got the transition of both the characters. And now finally we are looking from the third person perspective. Like we are now basically an audience for the for this whole scene. Okay, I want to slightly move it like this. So now you can see this is a nice view. And definitely you can fill it up by adding more objects to the scene. Like you can put some objects here as well. So we will beautify it later when we will be rendering. For now, this is fine. Yes, one versus one view. Okay. So this is what we've done till now. Okay. So this is what's happening. Uh, yeah. So let's keep it till here because we have explored many different things today and it can be confusing. So I want everyone to practice this. And we are not done with the ball animation in these scenes. We will be adding squash and stretch as well because exaggeration is missing. We want to exaggerate it further. So the way we have added, rotation up and down, we will also be adding the squash and stretch. Subtle squash and stretch, and that will make things look even more interesting and more attractive. Okay. So for today, let's keep it till here. Any doubts, anyone? Any questions? No questions? Uh, what are you saying? When you select all the keyframes and click spline, animation gets weird. It shouldn't get weird. It actually becomes smoother. You need to show me where it's happening. So when you're doing it, please, like when it's going weird, show it to me. Show the picture of the graph editor. Maybe you're not splining it correctly or you're missing out the keyframes. Something must be going wrong. So please show me this. Okay. Usually when we are using spline, everything becomes smoother. So it shouldn't overshoot. It will overshoot when you're copying and pasting the keyframes in between. So the tangent handles actually hit each other. Therefore, the overshoot kind of thing happens. Okay. So please show me when you get this. So if you're doing something wrong or if something weird is happening, I will be able to tell. Okay. Because usually it doesn't happen. So I need to see what you're doing. All right, guys. Okay, let's keep it till here. Let's continue tomorrow. Okay. Yes, Vaseem. Once you have the keys, you can handle the camera with the graph editor. That's exactly what we did, right? When we wanted to adjust the speed or the spacing, we did it through the graph editor itself. Now, again, when you're changing one frame like this, it's not wise to use graph editor. Okay, because you're just changing it in one single frame. So always use the manual method. We use graph editor when we want to adjust the spacing in between a large time difference. Okay. Lokesh, once we'll add the squash, you will see how good it will look. Okay. See, the reason behind this is a very fantasy kind of shot, right? A ball will obviously not move on its own like this. So we exaggerated to add the fantasy, like the point to it. Okay. So don't worry. Once we'll do it in class, then you will understand how it will look. You will like it. Okay. Let me lock the camera here because I accidentally moved it. Okay. All right. Let's meet tomorrow. Okay. Bye bye, guys. Good night. Oh, yes, Visrant. Let me end the recording.